Hey tankers, what is up? This is Alexbuildit. Today I'll be taking a look at the promised T-34 85 Rudy gameplay. Just a few sequential games all in a row and the games in between, showing you how this tank does on average, and just showing you a little bit of how good this tank really is, and also taking a look at the credit potential. Now I got myself a premium time, just a few days, just to test out how this tank does with premium. Without premium, it's actually quite horrible. With premium, it's actually decent, but you can still be better with other tanks. Taking a look at the mini-map and the loadout here on Last Temple, looks like I'm going to be heading on the left. I'm going to be heading towards the center, where I can use my rate of fire and my gun detection, which actually isn't all lousy. Now, you might be thinking Russian tank equals lousy gun detection, and in most circumstances, you are correct. But not in this circumstance. It doesn't have a lot of gun detection, but it has enough to get the job done. Like over the ridge over here, there's enough to peek over and then retreat really easily. There's a Cheery. Already one person spotted, my indicator light has not gone off, and I am still unspotted, making me a really good, just a scout, sort of, at least at the moment, until the situation develops. Looking left, looking right. Honestly, I shouldn't have moved my chart at all, because I lose some camouflage. There's a Panther 2, will I be spotted? Hopefully not. Okay, yes, they know where I am now, so I'm just waiting to see if anyone's going to pop up. I decided to retreat and look behind me. You always want to keep aware of your surroundings. Not knowing where the opponents are can easily lead to a loss in a game, so you got to keep your head on a swivel. Because these guys are stuck in the open, and with my amazing rate of fire, I have a great opportunity to hit this guy again and again. And this Panther 2 just doesn't seem to care that he's being shot at. I just look for those shots and just keep plugging him in with about 200 average damage per shot. Very decent for tier 7 medium, especially with that rate of fire. Already we shredded him from full health to just over 400 health. Can I get another shot in? Yes I do, leaving him at 240 HP. Very decent. Cheery sneaking up, I sneak one shot in him. Will he be able to shoot me a few times? Will he be able to shoot me at all? No, my rate of fire absolutely blew him out of the water, and he died. Now I'm just waiting for this Panther 2 to show himself in any way. Looks like on the other side of the map, things are going decently. It's kind of a stalemate right there at the moment. I use this tank speed to get behind the Panther 2 and start pumping some shots in. Who's going to get the kill? I ram him a little bit, and I finish him off. The rate of fire on this thing is really, really excellent, especially after you buff it with the correct equipment and consumables loadouts. There's a J-Panther, I can't tell if he's AFK or not, he's not moving or firing at all, so I'll just pump a few rounds into that general direction. Because no one else decided to guard the flank, I'm going to have a great opportunity to get shots into some of these tier 8 tanks up there. Looks like we actually did hit the J-Panther that second time we fired on the move. This gun's dispersion ratings and gun's characteristics themselves are actually relatively decent, along with its rate of fire, like I mentioned several times. The rate of fire really makes this tank. Without it, it wouldn't be all that good. Ram kill, I move right up, and I shove him to death, seeing if I can't get a shot on this Tiger 2. Tried to fire through the wall, did not work, maybe if I'd aimed that better. I try firing through the wall again, this time it works perfectly. Activate adrenaline, because I want that kill, get a side shot, and I end him. That just leaves one tank left. 4 kills. Pretty decent game considering we're at the lowest tier right now. 7's in a tier 8 game, which is actually relatively normal until this +1, -1 matchmaking came out. And I guess we'll just have to get used to this as the new low tier. RC 122.44 finishes him off. Very decent game. Now let's take a look at how well we did. So at premium time, almost 50,000 credits and 2,700 damage just about. That's more than any person on either team. Very, very decent. We got shots on most people, and overall earnings before loss was almost 80,000. Now this is just the next battle in a row, no battles in between. Let's just take a look how well this thing will do second matchup. So it looks like we're going to be low tier, quote unquote, again, at least with this crazy new +1, -1 matchmaking. Not exactly a fan. I feel like the game kind of limits its potential this way, but you know, in the end, we'll just have to live with what we have, so might as well just make the best of it. So head into the cave area in the T-34 85 Rudy. So just looking at the different teams, this map, a lot of people haven't really figured out what's the best way to play it, and you just have to adapt to your team's strategy. It looks like they all wanted to go cave, so we all decided to do that. The spawns have been really rebalanced in this map. I really like that. So I kind of used a little bit of side scraping here. Remember, this tank doesn't have as much armor on the side as the T-43. It has as much as a T-34 85. The frontal armor, there's more frontal armor than a normal T-34 85 on this tank, almost 3/4 again, but just not that much on here. So it looks like there was an unspotted Panther in front. I managed to get a shell right there. I'm reloading, using an angle. I might be angling a little bit too far with my side armor. Just getting that gun into play again and again and again. Looks like someone was trying to flank us. I see an SP-1C. I hit it once, I track it. I'm aiming at that tread wheel, trying to track him again and again.
We hit him perfectly, exactly where I wanted to. I load high explosive, and I finish him off. Though a normal AP round probably would have done the trick at that point. It appears I took a hit from the IS-3. He's pushing up, and he's about to regret that decision a lot. 1,098 damage for popping up. I do not think that was worth it. I get another shell right there, right into his treadwheel, again trying to permatrack him in place. Permatracking is a very viable option in this tank because of its high rate of fire. Just aim at that treadwheel and hit it again and again and again because they will run out of repair kits and they'll just have to endure the wait, which means they're going to be easy kills for whoever's watching. And look, we do it again. We're really punishing anyone who decides to poke this corner. And with a high rate of fire, we are absolutely shredding whoever is crazy enough to come around the corner. 2 kills already. I'm going to go ahead and try to get around these tanks on my right here. Coming over the ridge, I'm trying to knock out whatever tanks I can. The SP, once he sees me, he tries backing up. I hit him, but the lag made it look like I actually didn't. I reload, there's a Tiger 1. I'm aiming towards his rear, but I surprisingly bounce a shot. I have a flat Tiger 1 side. How on earth was I bouncing those? I just used that great rate of fire, aiming towards the front lower glacis now, because that's where the engine is. And so someone else caught him on fire right there, and I finish him off. Now we're aiming at the Comet. There's 1 shell in. Now the back of a Comet is extremely weak. I think it's only like 20 millimeters. So right there, you can actually load high explosive pretty well. I did 400 damage in 1 shot. That was a very high roll. Or that could have been a teammate hitting him at the same time, making it look like a better roll than it actually was. Let's see how we did there. The second match, we did a mastery badge, but that's not surprising considering I'm one of the only people in North America with this tank. And the most damage of any player on any team, again. Very decent matchup, decent credits. Third game in a row, no games in between. We are on Winter Malinovka, and we are low tier again. So I'm curious, how many of you have seen 4 Tankmen and a Dog episodes, the Rudy TV show in Poland? It's a little bit interesting to watch. The English dubbed ones are not really well translated, but it's enough to give you an idea of what's going on. Kind of fun to watch. So right off the bat, we are going to be heading right and using the flank side and their little raised divots in the hills area to play peekaboom and fight people who decide to put corners and try to use that perma-tracking method. So I'm going to go ahead and go on the far right. And the center is actually a little bit of a weak spot, as people can shoot at you from the center, from the right side, and actually it's not a very strong position overall. So I'm going to head on the far right and use this old building back here with a few holes in it to get some shots in. Fire, I missed the first shot, unfortunately. Reload. Waiting for this RU-251 to poke a corner. Let's see if he decides to do it. Now this tank that I'm fighting right here, the RU-251, has a decent rate of fire and it's extremely fast, and it's a tier higher with better TPM, so I gotta be careful how I do this. I finally get a shell into that Comet, reload, but it's not gonna be enough to kill him, someone else gets that shot, but I almost could have had him. It's like that RU-251 decided to pop up, I hit him and I damaged his ammo rack and his track in 1 shot. And I'm going to start using my amazing rate of fire to start really punishing him for being in that position. I hit him again and again and again. Now if he had any more armor, this might be a little bit of an issue, because I'm just hitting his shirt only and not his hull, but thankfully they have very little armor. Also I see a chance to hit another SP-1C, fire through a haystack, and track him. Switch to high explosive, aiming for that side right there, and it looks like I did about 350 damage. With the event of light tanks, or at least our first whole light tank line, high explosive is becoming more and more important to carry on your tanks. The ability to insta-switch between ammo types in Blitz really gives you the opportunity to pump out more damage and make the most out of your shell types. Come up for a ram, and I end him. I got a kamikaze medal. You really don't want to have too many kamikaze medals, at least per capita, per number of games, because a lot of people might actually end up thinking correctly and sometimes incorrectly that you're actually trying to ram people to death rather than shooting. I've seen that quite a few times. People just don't shoot, and they just try to ram people because they want to try to get those kamikaze medals. It's one that you don't want to have too many of if you're a serious player, because it's kind of informative of how you try to play. Ramming is a decent tactic, but you really should try to fire more than ram. There, I got a shell into him. I got a shell into the roof of a Black Prince. He's in a horrible position. I got 2 shells into the top of the Black Prince. The Black Prince is really heavily armored for a tier 7, but you almost never get shots at a roof. I'm getting another shot into the roof. Can I get another one in? I decided to aim at the hull because it's kind of at an angle now. And I get the kill, and that's game. Pretty decent match. Let's see how we did. I'm consistently pulling about 3,000 damage, and this time I'm getting decent credits, almost 62,000. With premium time, you actually are doing pretty well. And again, the 3rd game in a row, top damage on both teams. Alright, now for the fourth game of today. This time I'm actually top tier, and I'll be seeing some tier 6s, which means I'm going to absolutely wreck them. Fourth game in a row, let's do this and see if we can't get another 3000 damage game. This tank is extremely competent for a tier 7. It's one of the best performing ones out there, except in that area of credits. If you really want credits, get yourself an IS-6 or an IS-3 Defender. IS-3 Defenders are relatively decent. I have gameplay on those on my channel, which you can go ahead and check out if you're interested. I'm going to be pushing to the very important second bunker, as it gives me shots at people trying to hide behind the cap circle, and also shots at people in the far back areas. Also gives me an area to peek a boom. I decide not to take a snapshot of the VK 28.01, but honestly it wouldn't have hurt because of my rate of fire. I get one shell in, I activate Adrenaline because I want to maximize my rates of fire. I missed an easy shell, what the heck? There, I get an easy shell into that Type 62, reload, popping. I miss again, a ghost shell for some reason. That had no right to miss. I missed again. That one I can understand because of my short traverse. And there, finally getting the shell into that Type 62. Reload. I really want to cream this VK 28.01 because he's using bad tactics. Might as well end him. Now I'm getting shots to the... I tried aiming at the Panther M10, decided to hit the VK 28.01 instead. Basically by accident. I'm starting to perma-track this Panther M10 whenever I can. I try to aim at that track, but because I'm moving so quickly, I'm actually poking corners a little bit too quickly just to avoid getting shot by the Panther M10. I am missing some of my shots. It looks like I'm trying to aim right behind the track this time just so I can actually penetrate him. That time I actually managed to track him again, get him stuck in the open. I see an opportunity to take out the VK. I decide to knock him out just so they have less damage per minute being pumped out. I come back out, no really good shots on him, so I need to deal with these people trying to flank me, or at least push up on their side of this. There's a T-20, I track him, it looks like I actually didn't do any damage to him. Getting ready to pop the corner, let's see if that SP-1C wants to tango. Oh, he takes a shot, let's see if anyone else is going to hit him. I load high explosive, I really didn't need to in this scenario. Boom, that's the end of him. AP would have done the trick just as well, but if he still had like, say, 300 health, that would have been the best ammo choice to use. This tank doesn't have as many hit points as other tier 7s, but it's balanced by its amazing gun. Aiming at the flat side of a Kuru mine, aim, fire, reload, aim, and fire. Just keep popping out again and again. Peek-a-boom is one of the most important tactics in this tank. Use that to the fullest. Get their shell in and end him. Now I'm looking at this VK 36.01H, fire one in, and I just have to reload fast enough to get the kill. Will I get the kill? Will I get the kill? And the answer is yes, I got the kill. And that's 4 kills again. Now I'm starting to push up on this T-20, their entire team has fallen apart, and that's game. Now, 4 decent games in a row.
Being top tier was really an advantage here. I did top damage on both teams, almost 3,700 damage and 74,000 credits. Actually relatively decent with premium time. Most damage on both teams every single game. This tank will be coming out in stores very soon, and I suggest you pick one up. It's an extremely good tank. I really enjoyed making this video and playing it. In other news, I will be moving from Hawaii to Texas relatively soon, and as such I probably won't be able to make as much content for a few weeks. I'm able to publish 1 or 2 videos. We'll end up seeing. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, tankers. Alexbuildit out, Blitz on, and enjoy the T-34 85 Rudy.